It's great to be back home again in Piqua, Ohio, hometown of Piqua's favorite harmonists, the Mills Brothers. I've been a Mills Brothers fan all my life. And last year I put together a book of news clippings from Piqua and the surrounding area and other local sources called The Mills Brothers Early Press Coverage, 1908 to 32. I was interested in their life here in Piqua. A lot's been written and is available about their public life after 1931. But I wanted to know, what did they do here? Where did they go to school? Where did they go to church? What were the Mills boys singing when they were here? I wanted to know, what were those songs? So today I'm going to share with you a multimedia presentation of the Mills Brothers in Piqua. You will see and hear information about the Mills family household, church, school, and public activities. You will hear audio and see video of the Mills Brothers before 1936, when oldest brother John played guitar and sang pump bass vocals. I hope to both entertain and educate you, and maybe start you dreaming a little about how Piqua might create economic benefit from its greatest entertainment asset, the Mills Brothers. The four Mills boys built their act on instrumental interpretations, making instrument sounds using only their mouths and their hands, accompanied by Brother John's guitar. I know a Piqua native still performing this technique in Piqua today, and he's here to perform for you the Mills Brothers classic, You Always Hurt the One You Love. Please welcome Piqua's own Mr. Jim Graham.
Yay!
You know, Chris, I told you it's easy to play in front of an arena full of people. It's tough to play in a small room like this. It's a little scary. Let it be known, I'm not a guitar player. I just bought one. And as the guys talked about, this is just my interpretation of one of their songs. And last year we had a celebration over at the Crooked Handle, and I was invited to be part of it, and me and my guitar player buddy kind of put this together. So please excuse me if I mess this up because it's live. You always hurt the one you love, the one shouldn't hurt at all. You always take the sweetest rose and crush it till the petals fall. You always break the kindest heart with the hasty word you can't recall. So if I broke your heart last night, it's because I love you most of all. You always hurt the one you love, the one shouldn't hurt at all. You always take the sweetest rose and crush it till the petals fall. You always break the kindest heart with the hasty words you can't recall. So if I broke your last night, it's because love you most of all. I broke your heart last night, it's because I love you most of all. It's because I love you most of all.
By Piqua's own Jim Graham. Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Nothing like those guys. Nothing like those guys. But my passion is still the same.
To my wife of 42 years, I love you, and I'm sorry. Let's hear the Mills Brothers perform their hit Tiger Rag.
Introducing the Four Mills Brothers. I hope you like it. Hold that tiger, hold that tiger, hold that tiger. What is Hold that tiger.
Hold that tiger. But the Mills Brothers were not the first from Piqua to record Tiger Rag. Anyone? I did this for Jim. Yeah, wow. That's what I said. Who knew? Barry Reeser was born in Piqua. The family moved to Dayton when he was 2. He went to graduated from Steele High School. He was a piano prodigy, and then guitar, banjo, saxophone, other stuff. He was incredible. That's the NBC Orchestra in Manhattan. They were sponsored by the Clico Club Ginger Ale, and that's why they did it. Barry Reeser, Piqua, Ohio. The historical news articles and clippings in this presentation contain race language not used today. They are presented unedited. Pay careful attention. This was the Mills family's world. If race language offends you, it should. But keep in mind, this was their reality.
The Mills Brothers started singing back in your hometown of Piqua, Ohio.
Yes, a little place called Piqua, Piqua, north of Dayton.
In 1922. And there were 4 of you then, weren't there?
Yes, there were 4 of us. We started the quartet when I was 7 years old. We used to listen to bands coming over the radio, you know. And we used to listen to Ellington from New York. That's where we got the idea of imitating the instruments, trying to imitate the sounds of Duke Ellington. That's where it all started.
The bottom left is Duke Ellington's orchestra in 1927. That's what the four Mills boys in Piqua were hearing, and that's what they want to sound like, that right there. In New York, station WHN broadcast Duke's band from 24 to 27 from studio at 9 o'clock and then live from the club at midnight. And in 1927, Cleveland is reporting they're hearing from WEAF New York, both 9 and 12 shows very clearly, including the Clico Club Eskimos of Harry Reeser. In the center, we have two columns, Duke's recordings, earliest recordings. November 1924 was Choo Choo and Deacon Jazz, and then June 26, Animal Crackers. Some other early songs, East St. Louis Toodaloo, Black and Tan Fantasy. This is what the Mills boys were listening to here in Piqua. In June of 26, Duke Ellington records a song called Animal Crackers. In July 26, the Mills brothers are performing that song out front of this building on the square, along with Thanks for the Buggy Ride. So let's take a look at the Animal Crackers songs. I have 3 songs for you that I've picked out. The Mills brothers heard these songs on the radio. They were performed live. They were on recorded 78s on mechanical recordings. So this was the kind of hollow sounds or those tinny sounds maybe of 78 records. This was the sound that the Mills brothers were trying to create because that's what commercial music sounded like at the time. They had to sound like their influences. They had to sound like what a band sounded like because that's what they were trying to emulate. Those 78s were recorded in a studio like this. This is the Jeanette Record Studio in Richmond, Indiana, just past Greenville in Indiana. These bells are what the performers played into. There's one here. Past this curtain in the other room was the little mechanical recording stylist cranking out a master. And the musicians all crowded around. They try to get the musicians positioned just right in this little room. This is the Wolverines. The lower right-hand seated gentleman is Vic Spiderback. They were one of the first Dixieland jazz bands. And they recorded right here in Richmond, Indiana. Jeanette also recorded Delta Blues, Axe, Kentucky Hillbillies, Cincinnati Cowboys like Gene Autry. Anybody really they would record. If the master turned out well, they might press it. If you paid them, they'd press it. But if the master didn't turn out, they might just not even save it at all. So this is the first recording of Animal Crackers in that tinny sound.
Animal crackers, lions or leopards thrill me all day. And when I go wild about animal crackers, firecrackers won't do. Goodness gracious, I'm no chump, I've just been off a camel's hump. Animal crackers, I love you.
Although we liked what we were doing, we were sort of backward. We always felt that people were making fun of us. As we went on, we began to realize that people were liking us instead of making fun. They were laughing, but yet they were applauding too. One of our first big breaks in our hometown was in an amateur show. And on the stage, things happened that was just unbelievable. So people, they threw money. In those days, there was a lot of big silver dollars around, and they were clanking on the stage all over the place and just raining money in our hometown.
Everybody danced to Charleston in the 20s, including the Mills Brothers right here in Piqua. Let's not forget about the other song they sang out front here, Thanks for the Buggy Ride. This is another novelty song, and it seems the singer intentionally hitched an old horse to a new wagon to spend a little more time with his sweetheart. Thanks for the Buggy Ride.
The other day I took a ride, but not in a machine. It was a buggy ride with my sweetie by my side. Now making love, going 50 miles an hour, don't compare with a 1 horsepower. Many cars I've tried, but give me a buggy ride. Why, thanks for the buggy ride, thanks for the buggy ride. I had a wonderful time. I've never seen a horse so full of applesauce. It was a wonderful sound to hear him stomping along the ground. He said an awkward pace, he couldn't win a race from an old-fashioned snail. I never knew a horse could see so well in the dark. He must have found 100 different places to park. But I'm more than satisfied. Thanks for the buggy ride. I had a wonderful time.
Thanks for the Buggy Ride. So that gives you a sense of the kind of novelty songs, the fun things that these little boys were singing in town. And for the adults, you heard Harry saying that they kind of thought people were making fun of them, but they figured out, hey, you know, they're throwing money and clapping. Now, before we move on, one more bit about Harry Reeser. His was the first recording of holiday song, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Just raise your hand if you think you hear his banjo.
You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming
Hey, hey, tweet, 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 what, wow. How am I doing? Hey, hey, oh, gee, oh, baby, oh, show. Now, I'm not bragging, but it's understood that everything I do, I sure do good. How am I doing? Hey, hey, tweet, 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 what, wow. How am I doing? Hey, hey, tweet, 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 what, wow. How am I doing? Hey, hey, oh, gee, baby, show. I only meant to do a little bit. He done made me like it and I just can't quit. Now, how am I doing? Hey, hey, tweet, 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 what, what?
That's amazing.
Let's hear a little bit about the Mills family here in Piqua.
What kind of family were you raised in? Would you mind filling us in about your childhood?
Well, my mother and father were both singers. My mother and father was touring for quite some time. My father had a barbershop quartet for years called the Four Kings of Harmony, and he and my mother taught us our harmonies as four brothers. I had three sisters. They all sang, but they didn't do it professionally. Mother and father taught us our harmonies. Each one of us had to learn each other's harmony. We didn't just sing one part. If somebody got sick, then there was somebody else would take over.
So here's a map of what I found about the Mills family in Piqua, where they lived. What I have to point out is there were three Mills sisters, older, and there was John, and then three more boys. So a lot of people don't know about sisters at all. They think John's the oldest. Well, he was the oldest, but there was three older sisters and then four boys. The three older sisters' positive influence on the four boys was foundational. And the four boys always gave the three sisters credit whenever they could. So the Mills family, in my research, started out on Caldwell, then West North, and then they lived at 430 Spring Street for a number of years. Anybody know who owned the house? Anyone? Goodrich Giles. Goodrich Giles owned this home. Let's talk about John Mills, the barber. John H. Mills was a barber. And I hear from folks periodically when we talk about Mills Brothers, John Mills' barbershop was here. The Mills Brothers barbershop was there. I looked for it. This is every reference I found to John Mills. So I'm sure you can read this very clearly over here. The map of Piqua, the yellow dots are where I see John Mills' barbershop. The blue dots are Cass Evans, another barber. And the reason that they're included because this location here is the old Hardin Road, right over here across the corner. And I've heard there's some speculation, something, Mills Brothers, something. There was a barber shop in the basement. It was Cass Evans' barber shop. His first shop was the basement of Orr Flesh Building. And then he moved to the other one. I didn't find any reference to John Mills, catty corner here over at that location. But I found him at 311. He was here on the square. He was at the Kiefer location at Broadway and High, that corner. He was there. And then on Main Street as well, 400 something. I love this stuff because this I know for sure. All the rest of it, I don't know. It's fun, but let's start with the fact because there's a whole lot of great stuff here in the fact. Another myth about Piqua that I was trying to dig into when I did my research was Park Avenue. And I hear stories about Park Avenue. The Mills Brothers lived there, they tried to buy a house there, something, they got chased out of Piqua, something. I didn't find any of that. Here's what I found on Park Avenue, a whole lot of stuff. We have Park Avenue Baptist Church at one end and Wood Mansion at the other. And this dot here represents the home of Goodrich Giles in 1875. So Goodrich Giles, his father came to Piqua with the Randolph clan. Goodrich Giles stayed in Virginia with his mother. He served in the Civil War. He got hit and hurt in the head real bad. He recovered. Then he moved to Piqua to be with his father. And then he was extremely successful. He was the richest guy in Piqua, richest black man in Piqua, richest black man in Miami County. He built the Classic Theater in Dayton. He owned the house where the Mills brothers lived. But he was on Park Avenue in 1875. All these dots represent black families on Park Avenue. So the notion that they couldn't live on Park Avenue, forget that. But what I did find, particularly this house at 700 Park Avenue, right across from the hospital, the middle school, is it now? Yeah. Somehow Mills brothers got associated with that property. They couldn't buy it and they got mad and left town. I heard that story 100 times. There's no truth to it. However, I did find that Ethel Mills married C.A. Garnes, and he was associated with 700 Park Avenue. It was his mother-in-law's property. Garnes' wife passed. He ended up marrying Ethel Mills in 1947. That's late, way late in the story. She had left town in 1927. Ethel Mills divorced her husband John in 1926, Piqua, and remarried and moved about in 1927. So there's no association with that house and the Mills brothers leaving town. That all was years ago. So I don't know what the fascination with Park Avenue, but there's lots of cool stuff. Now I did find that there was a property transfer later, 45 and then in 52, and it had to do with Cass Evans, the barber. He died. Now his wife, she marries this guy back here, and then he dies, and then she's old, and then there's some changing of property. Maybe that's where some of the story got. I don't know, but I think the history is way better than the mystery. And if you can figure out what the reality is, you can sell it. You can promote it. So that's what I found about Park Avenue. I think it's all fascinating. Let's look at some things we do know for certain about the Mills family in Piqua, because I found it in the Piqua Daily Call. This is December 24, 1920, Christmas Eve, Cyrene A&E Church. All 7 Mills children were on the program. 3 girls, Barry and Donald, John and Herbert do a duet. I would have been at St. James that I've been around on the opposite corner, but I probably would have wanted to be over there. That would have been great. Something else we know for certain about the Mills family in Piqua. The Mills brothers performed November 1924, a couple of months after their first performance, or the next month. This was the Spring Creek Farm Bureau big meeting, and the Mills brothers were going to perform twice. They performed. The Mills brothers also performed January 26. This was the Henry Ford had a broadcast over the radio. If you went to a Ford dealership, you could hear this broadcast. And the reception was so poor at Piqua, luckily they had fiddlers and the Mills brothers who performed live. The Mills brothers performed live that day at Spring Street School. And then they went down to the Ford show. Some folks in town are telling you that the Charleston is not the craze, but all the research that I found was everywhere. February 1926, the Mills brothers performed at the Varsity Club Valentine's Dinner. 40 couples got to hear the Mills Quartet do several clever numbers. Donald's 10. March 26, children's party at the Elks Club for Virginia Heater. And what are they doing? The Charleston. The Mills Boys Quartet performed. March 26, the Phi Welco Club at the YWCA. The popular Mills Quartet will sing a few numbers of old and new favorites. June 26, big picnic at Fountain Park. Rained like crazy, but they didn't care. Mills brothers performed for nothing. Started their stuff. Charleston sang jazz songs. I love this description. They played several instruments. Were they trying to describe that they mimicked? Because they either had kazoos or nothing, or guitar. But I find that interesting because people were trying to classify them and understand what they were doing. The last one we're going to look at here is This was favorite night. So May 1927, the St. Paul's Church, the Foreman's Club. If you were a foreman at a factory, you had a group and you would get together so you could be a better foreman. And they would have programs and entertainment. And the Mills brothers performed. They also gave out a little blue skillet, you know, those little bitty favorite blue porcelain.
These things are funny to look at now because how we were dressed and got prepared for these things. I don't know how to explain how big it was in our minds. And yet, down through the years, the big things that we have done, what we consider big, like playing for the king and queens of England, the crown heads of Europe, I don't think was any bigger than that amateur night. As John was playing the ukulele, he had a kazoo in his pocket, and he would sometimes pull it out and put it in his mouth and play the guitar and give this sound. Somehow it wasn't there at the particular time. It wasn't there, and all of a sudden some other sound came out, and we didn't know where it came from and what it was, although it was there, and we looked at him and paid no attention to the audience, and we were amazed and was listening and working right along, and we all had these kazoos, and we were trying to imitate musical instruments with these little tin horns. After it was all over, we all decided to do the same thing with our little kazoos and throw them away and try to mimic sounds of different instruments.
What was the first professional job you ever had where you got paid for it?
When I was 7 years old, it was in our hometown, the place called the Mayor's Opera House was a theater, in between the pictures.
Who heard you that gave you the greatest break at the beginning in your career?
Well, a fellow by the name of Harold Greenemeyer, who was a band leader in our hometown.
Yeah.
And we used to travel around with his band quite a lot when we were kids.
Couldn't get a job unless it took us.
Did you know at the time, especially those early years just starting out in radio and so on, that you were doing something completely unique?
Oh, definitely. Nobody else was doing it. As a matter of fact, that's how we started doing the instrumentation things. We were singing the lyrics and then doing the band things. Trombones, trumpets, saxophones, and clarinets, and bass. That's how the Mills Brothers actually got started in radio. We went down to do an audition with a band from our hometown, and they kept us and let the band go.
We're still teenagers. A band leader by the name of Harold Greenemeyer, whose orchestra was about to audition for a spot on radio station WLW in Cincinnati, and decided to take you along with him on the audition. And the Mills Brothers ended up not only singing with him, but taking the job.
In our summer vacations in our hometown, Harold Greenemeyer's band played all of the night spots and clubs and rotary dances and things like that. And our father and Harold Greenemeyer got together in a business mind to take us along with them to do our little stint during the dance intermissions. And we became quite popular with the dance people in those days. And all of a sudden, it seemed like every summer this is where we went on tour with this band. And this band went to WLW Cincinnati for a great audition, and we went along with them, and they had an audition, and they asked, where were those Mills brothers? And they said, they're downstairs in the car. So we was gotten from the car and went upstairs and did a couple of songs, and to make a long story short, they kept us and let the band go.
For several years, the Mills family lived at 430 Spring Street. The image on the top is the house they lived in. We're at Green Street, looking west on Spring, and then the image below is the Ash Street, looking east. And the Mills family home is here. This is the auditorium, that second floor room. In the front corner was the auditorium at Spring Street School, and that's where they performed. I know. I went there K through 6. I performed in the same. I won the school spelling bee up there. Yeah. We have some school records of the Mills boys at Spring Street School. The bottom is the original document, and then I spread it on top to kind of analyze it a little bit. A mixed bag academically, but the red column with the red header, that's music. In that far right column, 90, 94, 97, 100. So everybody has their strengths, and they certainly knew theirs. Here's another program that they performed at Spring Street School, February 1926. I think it's them. It says it's John Herbert, Harry, and Don Miller, but I think it's them. But if you look, there was a play over here on the right-hand side, and the cast of characters, the first character is named Cho-Cho, which to me sounds like a Duke Ellington song. That was his first record, was Cho-Cho, Choo-Choo. And the character, the person who performed that role was Forrest Lee Schmidlap. Anybody know Barb Schmidlap, Steve Schmidlap? Their dad. He was a contemporary, went to school with the Mills brothers at Spring Street School. I knew Forrest from church, their family. In 1980, his wife passed, and he moved to New York City at age 70-something, I don't know. Over the next 12 years, he was in 3 feature films. Always an actor, he did commercials, but started out on that Spring Street stage, just like me and the Mills brothers.
The old man of the mountain. The old man of the mountain.
Did you guys spend a lot of time on the road?
Well, not at that time. Most of the things we did when we were in radio were round through Ohio and Kentucky and different places like that. We didn't start traveling all over the country until we went into CBS in New York. We expected something to happen, but not exactly as fast as it did.
That audition at WLW in Cincinnati won for you a regular job. You were doing practically any and every program they threw at you. You went unsponsored for about 10 months, but you were building quite a consistent audience there. And finally, the big break came. You were lured on to the big city, New York. How did this come about?
What happened, we had been there for about 10 months doing sustaining programs and weren't making very much money, as you know, in those days. A friend of ours came through. His name was Bob Stevens. He came through with Duke Ellington's band, was playing at the Greystone Ballroom. We went down to hear Duke's band, and we did a couple of songs on the stage there. And by doing this, the instrumentation things that we did, we were doing a lot of things that Duke Ellington had written, things like East St. Louis Toodaloo, Mood Indigo, Black and Tan Fantasy, all of Duke's songs. And he heard these things, and he called New York to his manager, whose name was Irving Mills at that time. And Irving Mills wasn't interested, so he in turn called a fellow by the name of Tom Rockwell, who became our personal representative. Tom Rockwell asked us to come into New York. We went into New York. We had an audition at CBS with Paley. That was the 20th.
That very same night.
The same night that we arrived in New York, we went and had this audition with Paley at CBS. We signed a contract with CBS the following day, 3-year contract. We opened at the Connie's Inn nightclub in Harlem the following night, and we were there for about a year and a half. And that was the start of the Mills Brothers on the National Hookup.
Harry Von Zell, a great radio announcer in those days, gave us our name as 4 boys and the guitars, the Mills Brothers.
After radio success in New York City, the Mills Brothers traveled to the West Coast. Piqua friend Harold Beard drove them out and back. Their live performances broke attendance records at Los Angeles theaters. They also performed in feature films, soundies, and screen songs like this one.
Sing, I ain't got nobody when the ball bounces all join in. I ain't got nobody, and nobody cares for me. That's why I'm sad and lonely. Won't somebody come and take a chance with me?
Let's talk about Tiger Rag, the Mills Brothers' first released recording. So if we look at the bottom, the gold stars, the Mills Brothers' first released record was Tiger Rag. It sold over 1 million copies and it hit #1 on the charts. It was released December 3rd, 31, recorded October 9, 31. A couple weeks prior, they were in the studio in New York, recording the same 2 songs. But again, maybe that mechanical recording and their voices, and they didn't have it. It wasn't there. They came back a couple weeks later, nailed it, #1, bam. However, it was their first recording a year prior over in Richmond at the Jeanette Studios. They were on WLW, they got connected and went to Richmond. It must have been a poor master and it never got released. But that was a really cool fact that I had dug up. Let's look at the records of 1931. Okay, so again, a lot going on, but I wanted to cram it all in so you knew I had done some homework. The blue represents the top 7 songs of 1931. The very top song, Cab Calloway's Minnie the Moocher. By far, no question. Mills Brothers came in at #6. Another chart I saw was #4. I never saw them on #1 for the year. So it was their first song. It was a #1 hit for them. Sold 1 million. But on the charts, it was the 6th for the year. So what I find interesting is the first 5 were recorded January to March. And had the Mills Brothers not jumped in December, a song from a year ago by Isham Jones would have been #6, Stardust by Hopi Carmichael. But they jump in there in December and steal that spot away. And they even beat out Bing's second recording. He had 3 hits. We got Wayne King. Stardust was on there twice. Goodnight Sweetheart. It gives you a sense of the market, of what songs were popular, who the acts were. Minnie the Moocher became the first jazz record to sell 1 million copies. So some of my research was the Mills Brothers had some firsts, some #1s. I was trying to figure out what they were and what they were not. They might have been the first jazz vocal record to sell 1 million, but they weren't the first jazz. That was Minnie the Moocher, and it was the biggest chart topper of 31. A couple other things to point out. If you look here, the top record in 1931 earned $60,000. Minnie the Moocher earned $60,000. Had it been 1929, it would have been $500,000. Great Depression. everything crashed. Biggest song and tiny amount of money. So the Mills Brothers hit the market in 31. The market is 5 million, the whole market. It used to be 75 million 2 years ago, but the Great Depression. So they come into a very small market, but wham, they had a huge impact. So that was kind of fun. This is my analysis of 1931 chart. And how they charted songs, it was different. It was like, it was about the song, Stardust. It wasn't so much the artist. So the songs were charted separately from the records because people recorded the same songs.
Music has not changed. I don't think it'll ever change. It'll go in circles in different ideas. The younger generation has something that they believe that is brand new. Well, that's good for them. I like that. But it'll always come back to the same thing. The song and the words must be understood for them to be liked.
Some of the songs we used to do in our stage act were Mills Brothers songs because we had to work to adults. So we sang songs like Bye Bye Blackbird and Alexander's Ragtime Band and Dinah and Up the Lazy River. I mean, things that the Mills Brothers had done that we would do. We would just impersonate their harmonies and just sing them in the clubs. And they taught us light and shade in vocals. You know, the softness and when you can be louder and when you can be softer and more emotional. You know, so my father always had these records playing around the house.
We were the Beatles of 1930.
Music has not changed. Young people have said, "Do you fellas do rock and roll?" I said, "Yeah, sure, all our lives." They think I'm bragging until we have to do something on the stage, and we do it just to show them.
To what do you attribute your lasting power, your staying power over the years?
The only thing I can say about it is the simplicity of what you're doing musically. The music is simple. The lyrics are simple as you can understand. You don't go way out into space. You keep it as simple as possible, something that the people can listen to, hear, whistle, hum, or pat their foot to. I think this is it. And remember the songs.
I don't think it could be put any better than that, really. And I think this may be the reason why the Mills Brothers have been around for these many years. Every song that we gather, we listen, we think it out, and we make it as simple as we possibly can. It has kept us in business.
Ladies and gentlemen, the magical appeal of the music of the Mills Brothers.
Hold that tiger, 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 hold that tiger. Where's the tiger? 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 Hold that tiger, 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 hold that tiger. There's a tiger, where's the tiger? 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 No, 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 hold the tiger.
Oh, from Piqua.
Again, that performance of Tiger Rag was just 1 year ago in Cerritos, California. When I spoke with John Mills at his concert, he signed a poster for us, and I told him it's time to entertain and educate the next generation. And he said, that's up to you, man. I've been singing this act longer than my grandpa. It's up to everyone who's interested in the music of the Mills Brothers to keep it alive. And here in Piqua, I think there's a great opportunity for us to take better advantage of Piqua's greatest entertainment asset. We've looked at some of the places the Mills Brothers were associated with in Piqua. There's a monument out front, there's a mural, there's a new pavilion. That's a great start. I see that mural and that pavilion, and I want to hear music. I want to hear Mills Brothers music. Anybody selling t-shirts yet? Is Melanie selling t-shirts? If not the mural, something else. Mills Brothers, Piqua. Every carload of kids that leaves town, those kids should be blowing kazoos that say Mills Brothers, Piqua. We have a great music program in our school system. Both my wife and I were involved. We didn't really highlight Mills Brothers music then. That was how many years ago? And I don't see it today. So that's just a great opportunity. Throw some Mills Brothers music in the mix. Little kids, start them out. By the time they get up there, they'll know Tiger Rag. This is a really talented group. The company, high level, award-winning, etc. You know it. When are they going to perform the Mills Brothers High School musical? The Mills Brothers recorded over 2,000 songs. There's lots of opportunity. So, in closing, that is some of my research that I came to as this great asset. And now that we have a compilation of what their life was like here in town, we can start to understand that better and then maybe propagate that message. I think of other ways we can honor the Mills Brothers and bring people into this town. A virtual tour of the Mills Brothers, something software, it's on your device, places on the map. That's easy, I think. A physical tour, these places, put something. You ever been to Chinese theater in LA? And if you're out front, we know I have all the handprints and that. Right across the street on the corner is the Mills Brothers Star. It's right there, a really cool spot. How about out by Crooked Handle and that, the park? They 2,000 records. You could have their songs, Mills Brother art installation, a mobile. I don't know. There's lots of opportunity. The mural. I tried to light that mural up last summer when we had our concert at Crooked Handle. It only been up like a week or two, but it wasn't practical then. It's dark at night. You could light it up. You could have like those little laser things that look like their mouths are moving. They could perform Mills Brothers music like every night, half hour after sunset. That would be cool. So what a great start. In St. Louis, the old train station has a vaulted ceiling, and it's now the lobby of a fancy hotel. And they put on a Beatles show, this light show, all of Beatles music, Sgt. Pepper, Crazy. Oh, it's fantastic. Check it out. I see that here. Mills Brothers music, light show. So a lot of opportunity. We got a great start. Connecting with other organizations like WLW. There's a broadcast museum going in at the old Voice of America Tower. That's broadcasting, that's radio. Those people go up and down 75 past Piqua to get there or to get home. Connect with them, have them stop here. Jeanette Recording Studio in Richmond was the only recording studio between New York and the West Coast at the time. So if you were a blues act or a hillbilly band, you had to go through there to get to Chicago, and it all stopped coming or going. Well, they got to stop through Piqua to get to the festival they have over there every year for the Jeanette Record Heritage. Tap into that. The Mills Brothers recorded there. So lots of opportunity, I see. Keep Main Street, but can we make it honorary Mills Brothers something? Or can we rename a street? Can we give them a back alley somewhere? They have millions of fans all over the world. I say it's time to tap into those fans online, bring them into Piqua, create Mills Brothers entertainment activities that generate tourist revenue. It's something that Piqua can sustain. It may start out small, but man, jazz fans, they love live events. This is all jazz.
The word success is all-encompassing. It's a broad word. It means a lot of different things to different people. Success. What does it mean to you?
I think the only way I can describe success for me purely is the fact that I am able today to do my first teaching, do unto others as you have others do unto you. This is the way we were raised. And I believe that this success has helped me to carry this thing through. Do unto others as you have others do unto you. And I've tried to do this way. And it's an awful good feeling if you can have something to give you that kind of help, because there are times in one's life where you don't feel like you want to do these things. But if you can fall back on something, it'll give you a lift. Well, in this success that we have had, there's been things that I can say, well, I'm very fortunate and I can think like that.
How about you, Donald?
I feel that as long as there's love in what you're doing, that is the success itself. That's the way I feel about it.
Let's dream of what there will be.